People are sharing the creepiest unsolved mysteries that they can't stop thinking about. So I decided to look into the details of each one. Brandon Swanson's case always boggled my mind. The fact that he alerted his parents that he was lost and needed help. They were on the phone with him, heading toward him, only to hear his last moments. To know they were so close is so terrifying. By Danica Ramirez. Recently, Reddit user uRandomWeeb asked the people of r/Ask Reddit to share the creepiest unsolved mystery that keeps them up at night. After reading through some of these, I will definitely not be sleeping soundly for the next couple of days. Here are the most bone-chilling cases. Warning: disturbing and graphic content ahead. 6. JonBenét Ramsey. I think that family knows who really committed the murder, but we won't ever find out. Here's what we know. JonBenét Ramsey was a 6-year-old beauty queen, reported missing from her home in Boulder, Colorado on December 26, 1996. A 3-page handwritten ransom note was found in the house, but 7 hours after the Ramsey parents reported their daughter missing, JonBenét was found in the basement of the house, strangled and with a broken skull. ABC News said, "The unusual murder case drew nationwide attention as no one was ever arrested or charged in the case. For years, investigators tried to unravel what happened to the young girl and whether the murderer could have been a family member or an intruder." 7. I've always wondered about what happened to Sabrina Eisenberg. I lived near that area at the time, and the baby Sabrina case was everywhere. I know many people who think the parents had something to do with her disappearance, but I don't know. I have so many questions. Who took her? Is she alive and living a regular life, not knowing she was kidnapped as a baby? How could someone just walk into their house in the middle of the night without making a sound? Here's what we know. In 1997, Marlene and Steve Eisenberg tucked their 3 children into bed in their home in Valrico, Florida. 8-year-old William, 4-year-old Monica, and 5-month-old Sabrina. The following day, Sabrina was nowhere to be found. According to ABC News, after getting William out of bed, Marlene said she noticed her garage door and the door from the house to the garage were both open. She then ran to Sabrina's room to find her missing. After a large-scale search, law enforcement was unable to determine what happened to Sabrina. 8. Mr. Cruel. Everything about that case makes me feel uneasy. The knowledge that he's still out there, and we have no idea what he looks like other than a terrifying police composite sketch, that case haunts me to this day. Here's what we know. During the late 80s and early 90s, young girls in Melbourne, Australia, were brutally attacked and sexually assaulted by an unidentified man who went by the moniker Mr. Cruel. The Sun reported, "The mask-clad killer tied up parents and siblings and snatched girls as young as 11, who he held for up to 50 hours." The identity of Mr. Cruel remains a mystery, with no forensic evidence surfacing at the crime scenes. The only lead is the bone-chilling police composite sketch. 9. The Madeleine McCann disappearance. I was a student in the UK when it happened. The case was all over the news. I have kids now, and because of that case, I'm extremely vigilant in making sure all the windows and doors are closed and locked. Here's what we know. In 2007, the McCann family, married couple Jerry and Kate, their 2-year-old twins, and their 3-year-old daughter Madeleine, were on vacation in Portugal. On May 3rd, Jerry and Kate went to dinner with their friends and left the children behind in the nearby apartment. The adults used a rotation system to check in on the children, but when it was Kate's turn, she found Madeleine missing. Police, hotel staff, airport staff, and Border Patrol searched for clues leading to Madeleine's whereabouts, to no avail. In August, 100 days after Madeleine disappeared, BBC reported that investigating officers publicly acknowledged she may not be found alive. 10. The murders of Russell and Shirley Dermond. They occurred in early May 2014 in Putnam County, Georgia. Russell's decapitated body was found in his garage, but his head was missing. Just over a week later, Shirley's body was discovered floating in the nearby lake. The case is bizarre because they lived in an extremely wealthy neighborhood and a gated community. The murders were so incredibly violent and savage, and there's still no known motive to this day. Russell's head still hasn't been found. Here's what we know. As mentioned, the killings of 88-year-old Russell Dermond and 87-year-old Shirley Dermond occurred in Putnam County, Georgia. Russell was last seen alive on May 1, 2014, while running errands in town. As seen in surveillance footage, he transferred money at the bank before stopping by a local Publix to pick up some groceries and a prescription for Shirley's upcoming cataract surgery. Later that evening, the couple chatted with their son on the phone before dinner. On May 4th, the couple missed a Kentucky Derby party they were expected to attend with their neighbors. On May 6th, one concerned neighbor went to the couple's house to check on them. As Putnam County Sheriff Howard Sills told Inside Edition, the neighbor instead found their door unlocked and discovered Russell's decapitated body in the garage. Police noticed that his finger was severely wounded, and they found strands of Shirley's hair tangled in his blood. There was no sign of Shirley. Police instead found her purse and phone in the house, raising suspicion that she had been kidnapped. 10 days later, two men fishing found Shirley's body in Lake Oconee, almost 5 miles from the couple's house. Her body had been weighted down by 2 cinder blocks. According to her autopsy, her cause of death was 2 or 3 deep wounds to the head caused by a blunt object. Though Sills believes Russell was decapitated to hide evidence, police never found his head. Unfortunately, they also have never identified any suspects, witnesses, or, perhaps most significantly, motives in the case. 11. The Sodder Mystery. Basically, the Sodder family's house burned down. Part of the family escaped, but 5 children didn't make it out. Turns out there were no remains of the children found in the fire, and their location has never been discovered. Here's what we know. George and Jenny Sodder had 10 children. On Christmas Eve in 1945, the family, sans one child who had joined the military, went to bed. 5 of their children shared 2 bedrooms in the attic. Around 1 a.m., a fire began and consumed the house. George, Jenny, their youngest child, Sylvia, and 3 of their boys escaped outside. Their other 5 children in the attic bedrooms were trapped inside the burning home. According to Smithsonian Magazine, George raced back outside, hoping to reach them through the upstairs windows, but the ladder he always kept propped against the house was strangely missing. An idea struck. He would drive one of his 2 coal trucks up to the house and climb atop it to reach the windows. But even though they'd functioned perfectly the day before, neither would start now. A brief search was done on Christmas Day, but no remains were found, not even bones. The Sodder family continued to believe that the 5 children were alive, but no evidence can confirm or deny it. 12. The Tylenol murders. In 1982, in Chicago, 7 people, including a 12-year-old girl and 3 members of the same family, were poisoned with cyanide from tampered bottles of Tylenol. Almost immediately, the drug was pulled off the shelf. Fearing possible copycats, other medicinal products were also pulled. This case is why so many products have pull-off stickers, plastic wrap around the caps, and other measures to ensure that they haven't been tampered with. Here's what we know. No one was charged for these 7 murders. However, according to an NPR interview with Chicago Tribune reporter Stacey St. Clair, authorities believed they had a case against James Lewis, but they did not have direct physical evidence. They did have an extortion letter Lewis had written to Johnson & Johnson, the company that manufactures Tylenol, demanding $1 million to make the killings stop. Lewis was convicted of attempted extortion and spent 13 years in prison. Despite James's letter, authorities were unable to place him in Chicago, and there were no fingerprints that would connect him to the murders. James Lewis died July 10, 2023.